You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? New York Jets pull off a big trade. They get Davante Adams. That's right. New York Jets get Davante Adams. Big time trade put it on. And let me tell you something here. You got Woody Johnson going all in. You got Davante Adams is going up to the New York Jets. Oakland Raiders have made the trade. Pulled it off. Raiders going to get potentially can move up to a second round pick. But here's the deal. You got Woody Johnson is went all in on this one, folks. Woody Johnson's playing poker. The Jets have made some moves, but this one here is big time. You're going to get the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be reunited again, Davante Adams. You're talking Packer magic, Green Bay Packer magic. It's a big trade. It's surprisingly with the Raiders. And here's where I go with the Raiders. You know, you have great talent that comes to the Raiders. And when I look at this, you look at Jacobs, the running back. And when you look at they moved Jacobs to the Packers. And so here you come back to Davante Adams. But you also had another great wide receiver, Antonio Brown. So here with the Raiders, the question mark does have to come up. You're trading superstar talent. You're going through a rebuild. But the question is, can you sustain the pace of the AFC West? However, let's take it back over to New York. And what happens? You got the boost you needed. Aaron Rodgers' back shoulder throws are going to be able to tremendously help the Jets. You got a veteran coming in, Davante Adams, and it's all about timing with Rodgers and Davante Adams. Rodgers can spin it better than anybody in the league. It was evident the other night against the Buffalo Bills. There's no doubt about it. The offense is beginning to move. Now it gets the boost that they needed. And when it comes around to it, you got to look at it. You got to ask yourself, where are we going? Woody Johnson goes all in on this one. This one here, it's shocking to me to see Woody just saying, hey, look, let's play Texas Hold'em. Okay, I'm going to shake up. You got Nathaniel Hackett going to move him up the offensive coordinator. So, and this one here might just work out when you talk about what the boost and what do the Jets need and what are the Jets getting. And when they get reunited again, now, here's not only reunited for Aaron Rodgers, okay? It's not only reunited for Davante Adams, it's also reunited for Nathaniel Hackett because these guys have got to get a group. I don't know what they had Hackett doing. They stripped him of the play calling duties. Does that really matter? No, Rodgers is calling the show. He can call the game very good. But here's what it does. When you do make a move like that and you change in the coordinators, yeah, because the other offensive players have got to be held accountable. Rodgers mentioned before they got to grow up. Yeah, I mean, that was in the season. But now the reads won't be missed. Why? Because Davante knows the reads. He knows the back shoulder. Davante's going to catch a lot of balls. Now, the Raiders deal with Derek Carr. I mean, these are deals you go back to John Gruden and the Raiders, right? We're talking about the Raiders and what the Raiders are doing and how the Raiders are doing it. You know, sometimes I got to tell you, I got my Bears hat on. And you know why I got Bears? Two Bears teams I'm falling in love. Okay, I got the Shaw Bears and the HBCU, but I also got the Bears, Chicago Bears. And let me tell you something. It's good to be a Bears fan. I had to take the dust. The hat is old and dirty, but nevertheless, it's still the Chicago Bears. Now, let's get back to the story at hand. Reunited again is Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, okay? And this is timing. Everything Rodgers does is off timing. He's playing the game. The Jets, they lose a ball game. Okay, you lose to the Bills. Could they have won the ball game? Yes. Okay, have the Jets lost some games they could have won? Yes. Have they kind of fallen? Yes. But what does Davante do? It brings back the continuity, brings back the timing, understands the route progressions, understands the reads. The situation with the Raiders, back to it, with Derek Carr. Again, the trades with the Raiders, I'm just going to go back to it. Derek Carr, you bring in Davante on the premise that he's going to play with Derek Carr. That doesn't happen. So you have to collectively look at it. That was kind of a hitch in this whole thing because Davante bought a home in the neighborhood, same as Derek Carr. Next thing you know, Derek Carr is spinning the ball back up there. Okay, back up there. Okay, he's going to be doing it in New Orleans. But you got to get to the point. You got Rodgers is getting his guy, right? He's going to get his guy back. The Jets offense needs the boost. Okay, and here's where the thing's going to change. The defense has to respect Davante Adams, right? It has to. You cannot allow Rodgers and Davante Adams to just work it down the field. I mean, Davante Adams can catch, and I'll put a prediction on it. He can catch somewhere between, I'm going to say 10 to 13 to 15 balls a game. He's going to get a lot of targets. Okay, because that's unbelievable. But here's what it's going to do with the young receivers. The Jets are going to be able to get back in this thing and make a move. The Jets, you got to understand, man, that they are in a struggle moment right now, and I don't even want to call it a struggle moment. I mean, they just flattened out. They just couldn't get it done. And you got to look at this and say, well, what's going on and how are we going to pull it off? This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We are powered up by Fanatics, moving in the right direction, covering Aaron Rodgers and the NFL Jets. You got Davante Adams getting back with the Jets and getting the boost they need. These are things that have to happen. And you got to ask yourself, well, where's it going to all start and where's it all going to end? I wish I could tell you. The Jets 2-4. Let's be honest. At 2-4, you make a move, you get rid of Robert Saleh. Okay, so that's the move that you made. But then you got to look at it. They're giving up some points, right? They're giving up 108 points a game, scored 113. I see all of that changing because now you got a position where everything that you could have asked for has been given to you. You talk about owners committed. You talk about Broadway. You talk about making the show in New York, the toughest media. They're ready to bounce. Guess what? Woody says, I got something. I'm going to run right back at you. He's playing Texas Hold'em. He's going all in, folks, on this one. And when you look at it, you got to say to yourself, well, you know what? They've lost 3 games. There's no doubt about it. That's a streak. That streak's going to end. I'll tell you that. Aaron Rodgers with Davante Adams, folks, you can't get any better than that. Okay? You cannot get any better than that. Getting those 2 guys reunited again, and it feels so good. That's what's going down. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We're talking about New York City has got them another star. Aaron Rodgers was a big move, got injured, but now they bringing in Davante Adams. He's ready to play football in New York City. The New York Jets are ready to get back in the dance. And Aaron Rodgers, as he's always said it, relax. Relax. When you hear that comes out, and that one I can tell you, I know it well. Okay, born and raised right in the city I'm in, Chico, California, coming out of Oregon. Okay, and what you got there is you got a competitor. And Woody Johnson made the move, and that's what the Jets had to do. They didn't wait on it. You just said to yourself, hey, we're going to make the move. When we make this move, this is how this is going to be. And you got to look at it and say, Woody made the move. If you're going to make the move, then clean it up. Clean it up. Getting Davante Adams, you got to understand. There's sometimes the timing, and he's been wanting this for some time. I mean, you looked at it, you look at the Raiders, okay, you make the trade. You look at it and say, hey, well, what really happened there? Antonio Pierce was like, hey, you know what? You don't want to be here. We don't want you here. Okay, and that's the way the NFL works. So when he liked that, you got to ask yourself, it wasn't Antonio just saying, well, I like it. No, it's not saying that, folks. What Antonio was saying, if you don't want, this is the NFL. This is the NFL. This is Money Mike City Kitty Radio podcast. We always try to bring it to you and let it know it's our opinion. But if it turns the truth, we're giving you the facts before it happened. Back to Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. The Raiders, Mark Davis, Al Davis, they do it one way. Okay, the Raider way. And if you're not rolling with the Raider way, it's time for you to go. So when Davante Adams jumped in there and said, hey, this is the deal, this is how I feel about it. If you don't want to be here, and he says, yeah, I want to be traded, and Antonio, head coach of the Raiders, responded like on that post, you know what he was saying? This is the Raider way. If you're not with us, then you against us. So it's time for you to roll on out. They got a second-round pick coming on back, right? Raiders have got draft capital stacking, but they got to be cautious because the Raiders can get a lot of superstars that are coming their way, right? They're coming their way, but they're letting these superstars out of the Raider building. I don't agree with that. I'm not really trying to understand how that is going to work. Now, here's the deal. When you look at it, you go to the Jets. Jets offense needed a boost, right? because they need to get going. They need to start playing NFL football, both sides of the ball. Folks, there's three phases the Jets can play on that puts them to the top tier, right? What do you got there in the three phases you're going to look at? You got the Jets got to play offense, they got to play special teams, and they got to play defense. And they got to execute efficiently and flawlessly, right? To get back on track so they can run a streak. Now, here's the changes I'm talking about. Robert Saleh got bumped down, right? So he's gone. Then they get interim. Jeff Ubrick's going to take over, right? And then he's going to make Todd Downing, okay, the play caller. And then you got taking over for Nathaniel Hackett. Now, look at that. Look at the changes that the Jets went through prior to going to get Davante Adams. Woody Johnson said, who's going to coach him? Okay, that was the question. Who's going to coach these guys coming in if I make the trade? Because what we're doing now is not working, but it works for Hackett. I don't know what's going on in the Jets building. Okay, that's a crucial factor because the dynamics, you got Hackett, which they're saying he can't be the coordinator, which I don't mind that because he's got a lot of focus on Rodgers. He's got a lot of focus on the offense. Somebody's got to hold these other linemen and everybody else accountable, right? That's football. That's the NFL. But when you get right down to it, you look at it, Nathaniel Hackett, you got Davante Adams is going to be in there. These guys are going to be able to coach this group. And then the wide receivers. I'll tell you what, this is where the explosion will come with the Jets. The wide receivers are going to be all wide open on the field when they don't even know they're open because Rodgers is going to throw balls to Davante Adams. The players are going to see it in practice. When you see it in practice, you believe it. And this is going to happen. Jets going to turn this thing around. Aaron Rodgers got his guy. You got Davante Adams saying we're back together again. Crazier things that happen in the NFL. You got the Jets 2-3. They're barely getting in the standing. They were about to fall off. They've lost 3 straight games, right? So think about that. But season's not over. That's why they play 17 weeks. This is the Money Mike City Kitty Radio podcast. We're bringing it to you. We always tell you it's my opinion, but if it turns to truth, I've given you the facts before it's happened. And what's going on? Woody Johnson's playing Texas Hold'em's pushing the chips all the way in. He pushed them in, and the Raiders folded and gave up Davante Adams. There's no doubt about that. And you got Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. They're back together again. And the Raiders picked up a second-round pick, potentially they can max out on the trade. But at the end of the day, we all got to say, we're back. You got them back again. And the Raiders, they're going to push this thing. The Jets offense got the boost it needed. So at the end of the day, who wins and who loses? Well, we'll have to wait and see. This is the Money Mike City Kitty Radio podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics. We're bringing it to you. It's official. Davante Adams now plays for the New York Jets.